Poštovane kolege, dragi građani, premijeru Trudeau. Sloboda, pravo izbora, pravo na život i zdravlje, pravo na rad za mnoge od nas, to su temeljna ljudska prava za koje su milijuni građana Europe i svijeta položili svoje živote. Za obranu naših prava i prava naše djece, koje smo stjecali stoljećima, mnogi od nas, uključujući i mene, spremni smo riskirati vlastitu slobodu i položiti vlastite živote. Nažalost, danas su među nama i oni koji gaze te temeljne vrijednosti. Kanada, nekada simbol modernog svijeta, je pod vodstvom vaše kvazi-liberalne čizme proteklih mjeseci postala simbol kršenja temeljnih ljudskih prava i građanskih sloboda. Gledali smo kako konjima gaze žene, kako samohranim roditeljima blokirate bankovne račune, da ne mogu platiti djeci školovanje, da ne mogu platiti lijekove, da ne mogu platiti račune za struju i vodu, da ne mogu platiti rate kredita za svoje domove. Za vas su to možda liberalne metode. Međutim, za mnoge građane svijeta to je diktatura najgore vrste. Budite uvjereni da građani svijeta, udruženi, mogu zaustaviti svaki režim koji želi uništiti slobodu građana, bilo bombama, bilo štetnim farmaceutskim proizvodima. Hvala.
In Trudeau's eyes.
Okay.
When he said Canada.
What? We
Okay.
can't talk about that. Those are verboten topics.
In
All right,
Trudeau's
coming to you
eyes.
live from
Okay.
deep
When he
within
said
an icy and
Canada.
we
Okay.
can't
talk
potentially
about that.
nuclear
Those are
reactor
verboten.
radioactive
Okay.
wasteland.
Karen,
All
you
right,
gotta
coming
mute.
to you live
Whoa,
from
whoa,
deep
whoa,
within
Karen.
an icy and
You
we
Karen.
can't
Potentially
potentially
nuclear
What the heck's going on?
reactor
Radioactive
In
wasteland.
Karen,
All
you
right,
gotta-
coming to
hold
you
on, hold on,
live
hold
from
on,
deep
hold on.
within. What?
God, I don't know what that was. Yeah,
Okay,
that was crazy.
it's not
Okay.
me.
No, we're fine
I
now.
didn't even hear it. Could you tell me what it was?
There was weird feedback happening, but it's fine now.
Oh, okay.
It's fine now.
All right, so let's start again.
Yeah.
Okay. Coming to you live from deep within an icy, radioactive wasteland. We are the survivors of the alt-right Kekpopolix. Once more wading into battle against the lobster froggy
Zombie
zombie hordes.
Yep.
Hordes.
Those.
Yes. With Rantzerker.
Help
me out.
155.
155. Women in charge of dating? Feminism says no. Actually, I created this title. Is this guy a feminist? Is he, or just feminist leaning? Well, I mean, he's in the West, so basically he is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would say he is. That doesn't necessarily mean that, he subscribes to all of that, but I think it's like I didn't watch the whole interview, so take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I think that when people, even well-intentioned people, operate from the feminist view on the relationship between men and women as their starting point, it has effects all the way down the line if they don't stop and question the original starting point. So I think that if they don't question the premise from the get-go, even if they're, absolutely like coming at this from a very thoughtful and loving perspective, that premise is going to impact in small ways and in some large ways whatever it is that they do. So, that is, I would say that just based on what I've heard from this guy, Mr. Jon Birger, I think that that's where he's coming from. He has a sort of academic second wave feminist worldview but he doesn't like overtly blame men. And there's a lot of feminists that do that, where they basically say, you know, I am a feminist, I just don't like these bad things. But like, it's all, you know, it can't be like separated. It's not like, you know, you can just cherry pick or you know, go to the salad bar and take the stuff that you want and leave the other stuff, and then pretend like whatever you've come up with is not in fact still a salad. So but I think that if I'm charitable, that's what I would say for now. I would say that he's informed by the gender paradigm that feminism created, that everyone goes along with, but that he's trying to like make lemonade out of lemons, I guess. Is that the same? Make.
Yeah, when you get lemons.
I don't know. These are
lemonade.
lemons. I don't think these are lemons. I think
there's a saying where you make something good out of the, you know, raw ingredients that might appear to be bad.
The bitter.
Yeah, but I this is not. I don't think what he's starting with are lemons. They might be yellow colored, but I think the fluid is not lemon.
Right. It's
something else.
It's a little stronger.
Don't be gross.
A little stronger.
Yeah.
More salty.
Musky.
More salty. Yeah.
A little hint of ammonia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Pissinade. Let's just go right into it. So I just want to remind everyone, we are doing our monthly fundraiser, and I will do arm twisting if we don't get anything in at the half hour, although it may be a little confounded because apparently I've just been logged out of Feed the Badger, and getting back in is a quite an arduous task, and I will get on that. But please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. $5, $10, every little bit helps get us over the line. We are still, we about 3,000 from the goal, so get it in. I would like to be able to do this content for as long as the Canadian government allows me to. Am I allowed to say that? Probably not.
You just did. You are. Should we switch to Rumble?
I just did. Yeah, maybe we should. Go hit the Rumble escape to the pods. Yes.
Auga.
So please and it's to make sure that we can afford Brian Print and Hannah for the month, as well as other HBR expenses, which will have to increase as YouTube takes more and more of our super chat money. Thank you, YouTube. You're a peach to work with. Anyway, once again, that's feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. I will twist your arms. I don't enjoy doing it, but some of you seem to think that is the cost of doing business, so I will do it. But I'll give you 11 minutes.
Okay.
Please take the time to go and do that. Put some money in that. Okay, thanks. Let's start.
All right, let's start. First, let me change what I'm sharing. I don't know why I did that. Are you guys still there?
I'm
still here.
All right.
You didn't get rid of us.
Yeah, for some reason, OBS, or not OBS, but for some reason, Discord was like, "Oh, you're done." I'm like, "No, I didn't hang up. I just stopped sharing the screen." Okay, so now I'm sharing the video itself. We're going, and I'm going to share it with you guys in the audience because you're probably like, "What video?" Let me turn on the filters.
Every time I see somebody wearing these type of earbuds, I can't help but think of that scene from There's Something About Mary.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's got cum hanging off his ear.
Yeah. I love the blooper of that where is her name Cameron Diaz?
Cameron Diaz.
She's like, "Is that cum?" she just says what what it is.
Is that hair gel? But is that? That's what you'd say if you just wanted to make everybody crack up.
Yeah, I liked her back then because she could laugh at herself. I don't know if she still can do that, but she did back then in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but anyway, so we're basically going through this video. It is from Chris Williamson's YouTube channel. I like Chris Williamson. I've said this before. I think that even though there's probably, I'm sure I could find things that I could disagree with him on, but I really admire the fact that he is doing these podcasts where he's discussing these, socio-political and cultural issues, but he has a focus. He appears to have a focus or a particular interest in men and how men are, doing during this time of uncertainty and confusion and lies and fear. And because of that, I will say that I like Chris Williamson. So he did an interview with a gentleman that's pictured here named Jon Birger, and Jon Birger wrote a book about dating. He's supposed to be like some kind of matchmaker or, I don't know. I don't want to say expert because I don't think that we respond well to that word these days, but I guess he's some kind of an authority. And I'm not saying that to be sarcastic because I honestly don't. He could be completely knowledgeable, who knows. So, and we had broken it up into sections, and what we were looking at was assortative mating, which is what we were talking about. I could jump to another conversation. There's, for example, I'll read a couple. The boy problem in education, which he goes into. How #MeToo impacted dating. Office romances, that's probably related to the Me Too thing. Distinguishing flirting. Advantages to women dating earlier. And complications for female choice. And then competitive edges for women.
Let's look at advantages to women dating earlier.
All right. Let us jump ahead.
Yeah, let's look at that and see if that's even remotely realistic.
Yeah.
I choose what is advantages to females dating earlier.
All right. Bong. Okay, I'm going to hit play now.
You say that women in their 20s have an advantage at finding a partner as well. How come?
So I might not put it that way, but I do think there's an advantage to starting earlier. There's a lot of messaging that singles, I would say women particularly, but I actually think it's men and women as well, that you hear, like, young educated people are told that it's best to focus on your career in your 20s and worry about relationships or family in your 30s. And
I'm going to pause it there.
He's actually he's being really careful. He's being really fucking careful.
Yeah. I was going to
say,
but he made
which means he's about to tell the truth.
Yeah, but he's already made a mistake because he has accepted that men and women exist as classes. And we all know that we don't do that anymore. There are no men and there are no women. There are just human beings with various parts.
Oh my God. Yeah.
No, but that's like honestly though, that is the ultimate end of this line of reasoning.
I am so annoyed by that. And, I've been talking about it all week. I've just been like inundated ever since Rachel Levine, that trans.
Oh yeah. With
woman,
the Babylon Bee when they made her Man of the Year.
The trans woman who put all the COVID positive patients into Pennsylvania nursing homes, but not until she pulled her own 90-plus-year-old mother out of them, right? Out of a nursing home and installed her in a house with, staff to look after her. Yeah, that Rachel Levine, and now she's Deputy or Assistant Secretary of Health and Human Services federally. When she won Woman of the Year, and then, like, basically the same fucking week as Leah, what's her name? Aced the
swim competition.
National NCAA, National College Athletics Association.
That is one strong bitch.
Oh,
I know. Walnut between
don't
her
fuck with that hoe.
And her forearm. Just pop.
Oh no, it was just like so of course I got just inundated with like interview requests from
You know what's really interesting? I know we all believe here that, women were oppressed in the past, but it occurs to me that for most of human history, being part of political life also involved the ability to swing a sword.
Oh
I know
yeah,
this
no,
sounds,
no, no.
I know this sounds like a surprise.
We don't all believe that women were oppressed in the past,
No,
Alison.
no, Karen. This is the basic belief system. And when you buy into the idea that women were oppressed in the past, doesn't it, the thing is that you start to have to believe stuff about men and women that end up in situations like this. And the reason why I say that is when you believe that men and women were oppressed in the past, you have to assume that men and women have the same set of skills, are valued for the same things, and women were arbitrarily excluded from the only value that society placed on people, which was male. So eventually, in order to buttress this, you're going to have to believe things like men and women are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Society wasn't responding to realistic biological differences that might make it difficult for a woman to swing a sword. Society was making arbitrary decisions.
That might make her too valuable a person to risk in battle.
Yeah.
Because that's not her job. Her job is she's there to do the only job that a woman can do, like the one job that a man can't do. So and you're just looking at the situation, and I'm thinking, I've got all of these people, and they don't realize that, like, this Pandora's box, right, of
bullshit,
gender abolition,
gender fungibility. It's like money. You can convert Canadian dollars into Australian, right? It's like it's fine. You can identify your money as anything, if you just go to the bank and exchange it. But this idea, the Pandora's box, was actually opened by the people who are complaining about it now. The second wave radical lesbian separatist feminists, Catherine McKinnon, Andrea Dworkin, Sheila Jeffries, freaking God damn it, Julie Bindel, right? Those feminists were like, no. There can be no difference in access to everything for men and women, right? No difference whatsoever. Like Title IX was just designed to exploit this, and one of the hilarious things is, like, you have people now saying, well, Title IX is just like, what's that now, right? It's like nothing. And I'm like, well, I got my own freaking problems with Title IX and what they've done with it, but I'm sitting there at the 2012 National Organization of Women National Conference, watching the Keystone, not the Keystone, that was that Eve Ensler. Oh my God, are the vaginas in the house? Jesus Christ. It was God. I don't remember her name, but she was receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award for the year, right? And she was the woman who was instrumental in establishing Title IX. She was the one who pushed that through, and then she's up there at the podium. This is 2012, mind you, like 10 years ago. She's up there at the podium complaining that her granddaughters aren't grateful. They're just like, they're in college, and they're just like, I'm sorry, Grandma, I just don't really care that much about where a soccer ball goes. Right? It's just like, it's not important to me, right? And so you had this generation of feminists who were like pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing for all differences to be erased, and now and John Money was among that group of people as well. You might have remembered him from David Reimer's story.
Such things as
Yeah.
And
Such tragedies
and so,
as.
such
Yeah.
tragedies as such human tragedies as.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And I tell, like I've basically said to everybody that I've talked to this week about this, is that, well, if your listeners want to read something that makes their hair turn white, because it's not a horror fiction novel, it's actually something that really happened, go look up John Money and David Reimer.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was the guy, David Money was the guy who coined the term gender.
John Money.
As John Money was
Yeah.
the person who first used the term gender as not as a linguistic descriptor, but as a gender descriptor, a descriptor of, femaleness and maleness, or masculinity and femininity. So, and just go read up on that, and, throw up in your mouth a little bit, because that's what you're going to do. Right. And then think twice about what the second wave feminists told you about how the world
In
works.
order
right?
to believe that women are discriminated against in sports, you have to erase the differences between men and women. And in order to support that, you have to start to embrace this kind of biological irrelevance.
Yeah.
And this is what you get.
Well, and
This
the
is the
brain
truth
the
of
brain
it.
is part of your biology too, right? And so
Yep.
so you have to realize that, like, it was, you remember Emma Watson and her speech in front of the UN?
Yeah.
He for she, right? And she says, and my girlfriends, they dropped out of sports because they didn't want to look too muscly. No, they didn't want to be bruised. They didn't want to be banged up. They were like being pumped full of estrogen by puberty, right? And they were just like, oh my God, like, just suddenly I have no interest in this anymore.
Yeah. I'd much rather be on Twitter destroying another girl's life.
Or on Twitter doing makeup tutorials.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the constructive ones, Karen. Like,
Yeah.
the vast majority aren't even that constructive and creative. Have you
Agreed.
seen those strange like picture makeup where they turn themselves into like weird things and
Yeah.
and the nail tutorials, and it's like, wow.
Yeah,
Or
right.
even
man.
like
They're building a
jeweled
Tower
lip-
of Babel on every digit.
Yeah, like even the jeweled lips tutorials. I've gone down that I think it's Instagram rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Oh, why would you
Yeah.
do that? I
No, 'cause
don't
it's fascinating. But
I
that's
don't
that's
go and look at
constructive.
nail tutorials because I have
no,
like
they're not nail tutorials. But when they do their art and they present it, these crazy like nail art installations on their fingers. You ever seen that? They're bloody installations. Like you got like
Yeah.
miniature freaking. I don't know. They
yeah,
go really into it.
it's like basically
Like
it's
they have like
something
a
that- it's like something that you would install at a convention, except they're doing it on their fingernails.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's crazy and it's interesting.
Yeah, well, I
can't
have one.
grudge
I have
women
one-
doing that because it's creative and it's bringing joy to people. But Brian is right. Most of them just crowd onto Twitter and attempt to destroy someone
Yeah, that's true.
socially.
Yeah. Okay, so are we
Okay, so
continuing
It could be
or
entertaining in and of itself if there weren't any
Yeah.
weren't like real world consequences to it.
the point was that it was initially made was like he's being really, really careful about.
Yeah,
what he
right.
talks about.
Oh yeah, and the thing I wanted is
Yeah.
it Leah Thomas is the woman the woman
Yeah.
that won the
Yeah.
award? Yeah, like the Leah Thomas
No,
is
no.
No?
Leah Thomas won the prize, the championship, and the award for Woman of the Year for USA Today.
Right, yeah, that's the other
She's
person.
one of the 10. Rachel
Well,
Levine,
Yeah, Rachel
one
Levine.
of the 10
Well, look,
nominees. So
they are both champions, and they are both strong, beautiful, independent women. And if you don't like it, you can suck their large, veiny, hairy sheeness, because they are women. And
well, except I'm sure Leah Thomas shaves because she's a swimmer.
yeah, right, for aerodynamicness. I believe that there's a fin.
Yeah.
There's a fin on her member. But anyway, So let's get back to the video because
Dorsal fin.
Yeah, dorsal fin. It's like Jaws, when she
No, wait, a
swims on her
ventral
back. Okay, let us continue.
All right.
To me, there are all sorts of problems with this advice. First, if you're actually worried about your career and your earnings, research actually shows that coupled people, married people, earn more than single people. So the whole kind of
somebody needed to do research for that. 2 people with incomes have more money than 1 person with an income.
Sharing household expenses and not getting divorced, end up in a better financial position. Oh God.
People spend money to get these studies made.
The economic notion underlying this advice is simply wrong. But there's also kind of an assumption built into this that dating will be just as easy at 31 as it was at 23. And for men, for educated men, it is. It's actually easier. But for women, it gets harder. And I always like to compare this to the game of musical chairs. Chris,
pausing it there for the banana.
Yeah, no.
That much easier for men at 30, but it starts at 0 and it goes to 0.1.
Yeah, it starts getting easier for men as they get older, right? The older they get, the easier it gets. But the problem is that there's also studies that show that the older men get, the less interested they are in marrying. And, so if you ask 18-year-olds, do you hope to get married one day? The majority of women say not that, and the majority of men say yes, I'd like to get married one day, and not necessarily today, but one day. But then, as both sexes get older, the number of women saying yes increases, and the number of men saying yes decreases.
Well, what a surprise! They
and
realize.
I know, and I went on this one podcast like years and years ago, and one of the things that I forgot to mention was that maybe the reason why men increasingly lose interest in marriage as just a life choice as they get older is maybe they've just had enough experience of women that they're just not that actually is affecting their opinions about marriage in general. So, because like today's women are not my grandmother's generation of women or my mother's.
Well, they don't even we talk about this a lot on the dating show that we have. These women don't even seem to think they have to like men to get in a relationship with one.
No.
They could.
Yeah, no. I was just talking with this one crazy feminist on God, I forget whose channel it was. Maybe Russell Brand's. I don't freaking know. But yeah, she's listing off all of this stuff, right? She's listing off the reason why women have to be afraid. The reason why I know women have been historically oppressed is because the Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, God.
And Fresh. I don't know if you've heard about Fresh on Hulu.
No.
It's a movie that's available on Hulu. And so this is a dystopian horror novel, right? And basically a serial killer horror screenplay that was incidentally written by a woman and directed by a woman.
It's
right?
fiction.
So, I know.
You can't use that as a resource.
I know. And I'm like, so basically,
read a different book.
So you got these two creative fictional creations, right? And they're both written by women, right? And they both portray men as monsters and women as like these oppressed, helpless people, right? And
what the heck is that?
I don't know what that is.
Someone trying to call one of us?
Not me. Oh, God.
I'm trying to see what that is.
That's a completely new sound I have never heard before.
I've never heard it either.
It stopped.
Well, it stopped.
Okay. Someone Yeah, someone,
Maybe that's like the new controversial or unacceptable viewpoint alarm in Canada.
No,
Alarm, yeah.
no, I figured it out. I can't. Someone tried to call me on Facebook, and
What?
Oh, Jesus.
yeah, and they didn't ask. They just started calling. I didn't answer it.
Yeah, it's like my mother-in-law calling me right in the middle of a podcast yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but yeah, no. So she's using these to explain to me that they're proof, and I'm like, okay, number one, they're fiction, so they're made up. Number two, they were written by women. Number three, okay, they were written with the intent of horrifying the reader / audience, right? With the intent of making the reader / audience view what was happening as horrifying, okay, and upset them. Which means it's like you've basically just disproven your entire fucking point.
Yeah. Because
in one fell swoop.
Yeah, because if you're appealing to horror movies, which by definition aren't describing reality, not even normal like nothing.
Well, sometimes they do describe reality, right? Like,
yeah,
but serial killers and stuff like that. But we're horrified. They're meant to horrify people.
Yes, because they're horrifying. They're not like normal. What I meant by reality is like getting up in the morning, eating your breakfast, existing in a normal
Universal
society.
Truth.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me point something else out, because me and Brian have gone over the Handmaid's Tale and the biblical story it's based on extensively, which is Jacob, I believe, right? Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob and various women.
Yeah, various women. Okay, in that story, the premise of it, and I've had somebody say this, is that Jacob is being punished by his wives or by the circumstance that he finds himself in for some chicanery that he engaged in prior to it. And Jacob's sexuality, like he is being used for his sexuality by his wives. And I mean that in some of the most abusive ways. At one point, his wife threatens suicide if he doesn't have sex with her. At another point, one wife sells him sells his sexual services for a mandrake root. It is horribly like sexual exploitation of a man.
Yep.
And Margaret Atwood read that and said, I see feminine victimhood here, because in addition to the man being sexually exploited, the handmaidens got involved. There's no indication that they didn't want it, although there's significant indication that Jacob didn't want it. He seems like he'd gotten upset multiple times over this. Like he got angry over some of these some of what these antics that his two wives. Incidentally, his first wife, he married. Okay, originally he wanted to marry one woman who he fell in love with. And her father was like, but the customs of my tribe are that you have to marry her elder sister. Not the elder sister must be married first. So what did they do? They got Jacob drunk. And they said, oh yeah, you're going to be marrying this one you want. And then they snuck in her ugly sister.
Oh.
So right off the bat, the Handmaid's Tale is
rape.
Yeah, it's based on raping a man. And then it just gets worse from there. And the culmination is, yes, his sexual services get sold for the price of a mandrake root. And somehow feminists not only turned that story, or Margaret Atwood not only turned that story into victimhood of women because the handmaidens were involved and we don't know their opinion. But we do know Jacob's opinion. He didn't enjoy any of this, rather vociferously. Somehow this is all about female victimhood, but also when feminists read or watch this, they think that this is evidence of the abuse of women in the past. And when I actually pointed this all out to a feminist, she had the audacity to say, but it happened somewhere. It's like, so you take a story, a biblical story,
where
the sexual abuse of a man, you turn it into a retarded, contrived dystopia,
gender flipped Gender flip.
gender flip dystopia about the sexual abuse of women, and then you come back with
Dystopian futuristic horror novel. Yeah.
dystopian futuristic horror novel, and then you come back when I point all of this out, you come back with, well, it feels true.
I'm sure it's happening somewhere.
I'm sure it's happening. It's happened in the past somewhere. I'm like, no, you are
never.
using the existence of this Bible story to pretend the Handmaid's Tale is some sort of critique on society when it wasn't, when it was an absolute bald-faced lie about the biblical story in question. So you got nothing.
Not just that, even if it was just, created out of whole cloth by Margaret Atwood, even if she wasn't borrowing from this, if it wasn't like some kind of pastiche or
the fact
homage
that she's borrowing from the biblical story is what gives it that veracity to people, that this is really about how women were treated in the past. Bullshit.
Yeah, no. And the thing too, right, is even if you're gonna allow, right, that maybe 3,000 years ago women were treated like that, even if you just play devil's advocate and say, okay, so what you're saying is 3,000 years ago, women were drafted by their government, forcibly conscripted into some kind of life-altering, just based on their physical capabilities, into some sort of, like, leave your planned future, all of your hopes and dreams behind. You're going to do this now because your government says so. And you're going to do it at the potential risk of your life, your health, all of that stuff. And you're just going to keep doing it until we're done with you. Well, that might have happened 3,000 years ago for women. I'm not going to say it did, but it might have. Okay, but that's happening. That happened in like the 1970s for men. The 1960s and 70s for men in the United States. Right? They were told your future plans, your hopes and dreams, yeah, you're going to put those aside, right? Because you're physically fit to do what your government needs you to do, right? And you're going to go there and you're going to risk your life. You're going to leave your loved ones and go to someplace completely new and risk your life for your government because your government said you had to. And and selective service still exists, and it's like, and they're like, they still won't, like, okay, it's not even enough to say, okay, let's just, I don't agree that that's how women were treated, but even if they were, here's how men are being treated today. Not good enough. Women are still oppressed. Men are still privileged. It's all still, feminist narrative all the way down. And
even in the traditionalists who support the very illogic that requires believing things that lead to trans women in women's sports.
Yeah, no, it's infuriating, right? It's
all the Church of Women worsting, friends. All of it. And the traditionalists will complain, at least now. I mean, in the future,
now that it's biological males who are edging out women in sports.
It was okay when women were edging out men and getting entire male teams canceled from college campuses.
Yeah, and also like
equality.
Glomming onto a monopoly of sex-based scholarships and things like that, right?
Yeah, I know. It's infuriating because if you don't stem this off at the source, you're not doing anything. Because illogic.
You have to go all the way back to the premise.
Yeah, you got to go all the way back to the premise that women are oppressed by men. Because in order to support that premise, you have to believe things about biological fungibility. Because if you recognize that women are different in terms of the way they aspects of the way they think, aspects of the way they feel about the world, and for example, lower risk tolerance, and also they have relative physical inabilities relative to men. And also they have a ability that men don't have. They give birth. Then you have to accept that society is going to treat men and women differently, one. And if you want to determine who is oppressed, which is ridiculous, you then have to look at the costs and the benefits of both fucking roles.
Yeah, no, and then this woman, this stupid feminist who's like giving me all of this bullshit, right? Ooh, but The Handmaid's Tale and Fresh.
Oh, God,
right?
Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Why is it that
and then
people
she says, then
so
I said she was androphobic. She says, what is androphobia even a word? I'm like, Google it, Jesus Christ. And then she says, oh, I'm happily married. And I have lots of male friends, and I'm like, geez, they're so lucky to have you, right?
Mm.
Like, because I'm just, whenever I hear some woman saying something like that, I'm like, ooh, seems like a lucky guy.
Yeah, right.
He's probably really, really, really wanting to divorce you, but really, really not wanting to divorce you.
Yeah, I can't. But it's like, oh, well, and the other thing is that why would you want to be in a relationship with people who you think so poorly of?
Yeah,
Right.
I know. She's like, I'm not saying all men are monsters. I'm just saying that the only monsters are men.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, we haven't even listened to what this guy is concluding to.
Okay.
I have some super chats as well.
And I have some thank yous to give.
All right, do you want to go first then?
Sure. And once again, if you would like to join our very generous supporters, you know, this really helps to make me feel like there's a future in this. To be able to cover our expenses each month, which I guess makes a lot of sense if you think about it. That was a very vacuous statement I just made. But anyway, if you would like to join our very generous supporters in making sure that we don't disappear until the Canadian government decides to make us disappear, please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. That hasn't happened yet, folks. There are things that are really, really ominous, like very ominous, that the Canadian government is doing. But of course, it's all okay in order to silence people who don't agree with you. At least that's what probably 95% of the Canadian population believes.
As long as you're cute and you have nice hair.
Yeah.
And you have a well-tailored suit.
Like Tulsi Gabbard? Sounds like you're describing Tulsi Gabbard.
And very, 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 very interesting socks.
She what?
I know, like, she says reasonable things.
Like, sometimes it's like we're through the mirror.
I don't pay attention to what she's saying. She's a woman, but I look at her and I like what I see. Tulsi Gabbard is she's kind of a snack. Just saying.
You know,
she's pretty
Biden
thick
said
too.
Yeah, well, when Biden said you have to be when you're in the military as a woman. But when Biden was saying he was going to pick a black woman as a vice president, and then he was like narrowing it down, and it was like Stacey Abrams or Kamala Harris.
Stacey Abrams is too busy doing Star Trek right now, in case you don't know.
Yeah, but I'm literally at this point, I'm wishing he'd picked Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? Because at least she's not a retard. She's dishonest. Okay? And she's evil. But I think he picked Kamala Harris because she was easier on the eyes.
Yeah.
Probably. At this point, you know, slim pickings, but maybe Dr. Evil is the way to go. I mean, at least he's got a plan. He's got a coherent thought line. Maybe a little evil, but who knows? Maybe if we
and because he's unattractive and has a gap in his front teeth, you automatically kind of are like, should I trust this person? Because you know, like
not Dr. Evil, it's the gap in his teeth.
What's weird is.
No, Stacey Abrams.
Stacey Abrams, yeah, it's like an aqueduct.
But when you, oh God, you could fit a microphone cord through that thing. But when you actually
Lawrence Fishburne is jealous.
When you actually hear someone who's unattractive telling you something,
Yeah.
right? You're less likely to just swallow it hook, line, and sinker than when someone who's like really attractive. That's why the White House harnessed what's her name, Ellie, the TikToker with the big boobs, the 18-year-old.
Oh, you're talking about the one that Joe Biden was using to
explain why gas prices are so high.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's like literally why I don't really listen to Tulsi Gabbard, because she is pretty enough that I might let some shit get past my like rational mind. So I just admire her Wonder Woman-like face and then leave it alone.
Go look at a close-up of her, because she actually, you can tell she had severe acne as a teenager.
Yeah, she's not perfect, but
yeah, no, she's got a lot of pockmarks. Mm-hmm. And so that might help you filter,
ground myself a little bit more.
Yeah, ground yourself in reality.
Filter it through the pockmarks. Yeah.
And so you'll be absorbing her information through your frontal cortex rather than your dorsal or ventral cortex.
Yeah, my
fin. Yeah, your finned eel.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Anyway,
speaking of rudders,
who are you thanking? Do the thank yous.
Yes, do the thank yous. I apologize. Yes, we should do that. Let me get back to the thank yous. I want to thank Pripmaster for $30. So thank you, Pripmaster.
Thank you, Pripmaster. I got a soundbite.
Good. You be upright. There was a.
All right. That was from a kung fu movie. You be upright. Okay.
And then one more. Michael O gives us $100. Thank you, Michael O.
Michael O with the $100. Let me see. What is this?
The fact is that I don't remember.
Oh, well, yeah, I get that. I mean, I forget things all the time, Joe. But
you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Okay. Any other thank yous, Alison?
Nope, that's it. And if you would like to join Pripmaster and Michael O, please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. If necessary, I will do some arm twisting. I hope it's not necessary, but I will do it.
Okay, we will play the feminist wailing if things don't start coming in. But Brian promised me last episode that he would download a soundbite, a little clip of the A-Team's theme song. And if he hasn't, I can't promise you that he'll play it in response to your super chat or your donation to Feed the Badger. But he should have downloaded it and he should
put it into a soundboard.
Well, because it's like that.
This must have been while I was arguing with someone.
Yeah, it was. You were off on another forum, cheating on me, arguing with some retard.
Yeah. Well, and
then you came back. You're like, "Oh, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even know what's going on." It's like, yeah, because you've been arguing with some moron.
Okay, well, but I did come back. I came back to you guys. I'm back. Okay. I'm here. Right. Let's listen to more of this.
All right, I got super chat still. So
my God. Okay.
Over on Rumble, we got a Rumble rant from Health Potion Addict for $10, and he says, "Just saying hello with a dono. Thank you, Health Potion Addict. If you guys want to, there are they're not.
Rumble is much kinder.
Yeah, Rumble doesn't take as much out." And, they're called Rumble Rants. So if you guys want to send any Rumble Rants, I will read those first. I will give them priority. And then we have a super chat over here on YouTube from Amasang for $10. And he says, "Here are your messages. You have 30 minutes to move your car. You have 10 minutes. Your car has been impounded. Your car has been crushed into a cube. You have 30 minutes to move your cube." All right. Thank you, Amasang, for that. So now I will play.
What was that from? What movie was that from?
It was from Was it like
It was from a movie.
Was it like the
Oh, I was muted.
Hitchhiker's Guide or something?
Yeah,
One
it
of
was
those. Is it
Hitchhiker's
like
Guide, or
Brazil?
like
It was
maybe
one of those.
Total Recall,
No.
or something like that.
Yeah, like one of those dystopian future comedy
I will
things.
find out for us. I just want to remind everyone to also, I know we now have like 3 options, so that can create some decision, plus the monthly fundraiser from a decision anxiety or confusion.
Don't feel like you have to move to Rumble, because if a channel isn't actually making money on YouTube, then YouTube might delete the channel.
Yeah, so it is appreciated to continue to put super chats through YouTube to justify our continued existence.
Yeah.
And Rumble does take less, but we do actually have to pay for the platform on Rumble. If you want to make sure we get the most, you can go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And that is
Just a tip.
If you want to give us a really big tip, then you want to do it through just the tip.
If you want to give us a really big tip, then we'll be good and tied.
Yeah, we'll be good.
Dog breeders will know what I've just
Okay,
said
so
there.
that's at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. So I know there's 3 options, and that can create decision paralysis. I would say continue to put things through YouTube, continue to put things through Rumble, and if you want to put something big through and you want to write a novel, please go to just feedthebadger/justthetip. And again, our monthly fundraiser at feedthebadger/project/badger-media-blitz.
Okay. Now I'm going to play more of the video.
Did you ever play musical chairs as a kid?
I was a world champion.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, okay. So you know the basic idea. Like you start out with 25 players and 24 chairs, and in the first round of musical chairs, in that case, you have maybe a 4 or 5% chance of losing in the first round. By the last round of musical chairs, when there's 2 players and 1 chair, you have a 50% chance of losing the game. So the more players and chairs are taken out of the game, the greater your odds of losing. And
I'm pausing it there for the banana. Remember, he's talking about dating later in life.
Know. Dating later for women, and this is where I'm getting annoyed with him, because he's trying to genericize it. He's trying to make it generic.
Like men and women are equally.
Because it's just like musical chairs, and it's just random. No. If you're a woman, you want to exploit your highest value, right? That's when you want to be looking at pairing up, is when you are at your highest value in terms of the things men are looking for. And they might well be looking for a very smart woman, a woman with a future, who has like a career in mind, all of that stuff, right? But they're also looking for women with reproductive viability. And that involves youth and, beauty and health and all of that other stuff, right? So he's trying to avoid actually saying that
it's women, that
he's trying to avoid.
He doesn't want to upset the women that might watch.
He doesn't want to say that men age like wine and women age like milk.
Vinegar. Oh yeah, milk. Better.
So yeah.
But I mean, like, he won't even really anyway, I think that this is what I mean when I say there's like a root premise here, right? Because he's not willing to tell the whole truth about this, and he even like immediately backed off when I know he knows, but he doesn't want to say it. It's like one of these things where there is a lie, or at least I just call it a lie. There's a lie about men and women that we're all telling ourselves, and everyone knows they're lying, and everyone knows they're lying to each other, and they're all participating in it, but we still do it because we don't want to upset women who also know it's a lie. Like, they're all in on it. They all know it.
It's that polite fiction, when you just pretend not to notice that Granny farted.
Right.
You know. So
And the basis of all of this is, again, we have to maintain this idea that society oppresses women for the benefit of men. And that means we can't acknowledge how societies actually compensate for whatever weaknesses women might have in the mating, and they have throughout all of human history.
oh god,
Like,
the
I'm gonna use
whole
an
idea.
example. I'm gonna use
Go
an
ahead.
example. I have an example, folks. Like, I have
Go
a
ahead.
concrete example. I can actually put this into some concrete terms. I'm not just gonna go off into my little cloud la la land and confuse everyone. All right. In Milan, during the Italian Renaissance, and this is particularly interesting, the government made it so that it would tax the fathers of daughters, and they would put that tax into like a trust fund for those daughters for when they were married off as their dowries. Now, the dowry in those times wasn't exactly a gift from the bride's family to the husband's family. What it was a monetary allotment that was intended to support the woman if she got widowed, I think potentially also divorced if it wasn't something that
Or
she
if
was
he
her fault,
abandoned her.
or he abandoned her. So it was intended for the support of the woman. Now, it might be used to assist the husband's family in creating more wealth, but they were actually legally responsible to make sure every single penny was accounted for if she needed it. So the dowry was basically a trust fund for their daughters. Okay. Not only that, and that's if they had means. I think it might have been all families that partook in this, but maybe it was just those that means who were able to pay.
It would have been a different amount for.
Yeah, it would have been a
depending
different
on-
amount.
They would
But
have had a graduated
this was
tax system
intended-
for the dowries, but
Yeah, this was intended to make sure that women in Milan were financially supported throughout their lives for when they were older and less capable of doing so for themselves. So this was a society that was taking care of its women and making sure that its women were taken care of. Not just that, but upon marriage, a young woman could basically expect to get the equivalent of a C-suite job. That's what running a household was at that time. Households were some of the biggest employers throughout history. And for a woman of means would be expected to occupy a position in which she was the boss of a significant number of people. That's a C-suite job, essentially. So at birth, if you were upper middle class or rich Milanese woman, you would get a trust fund, and most women whose fathers could afford it would be legally obligated to give you a trust fund. And then when you married, you got a C-suite job. So, and this is a society that feminists have framed as patriarchal and oppressive of women, because they don't look at how society is arranged in order to ameliorate the potential vulnerabilities of women. But it gets even more interesting, because while Milanese women were given these things, they weren't allowed to operate in public the way Milanese men were. But if you think about it, the freedom that was given to Milanese men, or I think it's Milanese, I might be wrong, but men of Milan, or the men of this Italian Renaissance city, the freedom was the freedom to fail and to win the money to be able to afford to marry. So they got to go to the Thunderdome. They could win big and they got to marry. They could increase their fortunes and they got to marry. But if they lost, they never got to amount to anything. So the reason why men in this society had the freedom is because they were considered to be expendable. Nobody was going to give them a trust fund to make sure they were okay in their old age. Nobody was going to ensure that they were guaranteed a C-suite job running a household. Nobody. They rose and fell on their own merits, and they had the freedom to do so. That is considered oppression of women. And at the end of the day, the reason why they did it is they wanted to gain the status to be marriageable. So they did it in order to be able to support and protect a woman.
Yeah.
And our current way of looking at history is so distorted that the distortion propagates, and it ends up with a woman who has the musculature and skeletal structure of a man being considered a woman for the purposes of competing in women's athletics. This is where it starts. You got to start. Every single traditionalist, every single conservative has to march right back to Milan, look at how they structured their society, and recognized that in the 15th fucking century, people cared about women. People wanted to protect and provide for women. A government arranged for that for women. You go back to freaking Sumer, and the government was arranging for widows. This is a feature of human society. It is structured to, as much as possible, ameliorate the weaknesses of women. When you look at society in the past and say, oh no, they were oppressive of women, guess what you're getting rid of? All of the conversation and the effort to ameliorate the weaknesses of women because you refuse to acknowledge them. That's what feminists are actually talking about when they say that trans rights takes away women's privileges. But they don't want to acknowledge it, because to acknowledge it would be to acknowledge that the very thing that they say doesn't exist is the very thing that they rely on, that feminists rely on to get their aims met. Okay? And kids... Worse. No, let me finish. It gets fucking worse. This example, you don't want to know when Milan, okay, there was a really crazy, really religious guy called Svoboda, I think, and in Milan's history, if I'm not fucking up the name of the, and he instituted all of these changes that eventually crashed the economy. And what a surprise, because he said, I want to bring about the end times. And everybody was like, oh, he's so awesome. Oh, wait, our economy is crashing. Maybe he's not so awesome. But you know what caused the revolution? All of these fathers realizing that they wouldn't be able to give their daughters dowries. And then everybody rose and heads rolled, because that's what motivates men. Providing and protecting women. And feminists know this because they rely on it to get anything done.
Yeah, they exploit it. No, I mean, even if you look at the lifelong contract that, like what marriage used to be, right? A lifelong contract. Well, how long can a woman have babies? Until at best, until she was 45 or 50, right? So that's her contribution to the marriage. Yeah, there are other things, right? But that's her primary contribution. That's the reason why he wouldn't marry a man. He would marry a woman. Because, someone who wasn't a woman could do the dishes and sweep the floors and, and all of that stuff, right? Or you could just hire a servant to do all of that. Right. So the woman was, her primary role in the marriage contract was the reproductive role. And long after, she's no longer good for that. Long after she's had her last baby, right? He has to continue his obligation, financial obligation to her continues until one of them is dead, right? That's like a pension. That's a pension with like a retirement age of 40 or 45. Right? And you think that lifelong marriage was not there to protect women, when women, as they age, like milk, not like wine, become less and less valuable in that sense. And, it's, and people are going to say, well, but people don't want to have children. Like lots of people don't want to have, but we're not talking about what's happening in the front of your brain. We're talking about what's happening in the back of your brain that you're not even aware of, right? Nobody was lining up at Madeleine Albright's door just because she was a powerful woman. Nobody's sneaking into Hillary Clinton's boudoir. She doesn't have a line of freaking David Beckham's outside her door banging to get in, right? Because they're old and they're unattractive. They're you just, as you get older as a woman, George Clooney, on the other hand, He doesn't even have to fucking dye his hair.
I would still say that older women can get laid if they want, but
Any older woman can get laid. Any older woman is going to be able to find some thirsty young man who's willing to give her a freaking roll in the hay. Married? Yeah, not so much. You got to be bringing something.
Well, at the very least, I'm saying this as someone who at 40 got into my 12-year-long relationship with someone 13 years younger than me, right? Okay, I've seen that, but I have seen that.
You see it, but there's something. There's got to be something.
There is one thing. If you're older woman, you gotta like men.
Yeah, no, there's got to be something else that you bring to the table.
You're not gonna get away with, oh, I want to date a man, but I really hate the way they smell and the way they move, think, and the fact that they're so horny all the time and they don't clean up after themselves and they're responsible for everything in the world and they're basically satanic and they're tentacle monsters and they're goosey and they're slimy and
yeah, no, you can't be like that. You can't be like that, and you also have to actually give them something that they would not be able to get from a woman their own age or younger.
Yeah, being liked.
Right?
Being liked.
No, I mean, like, there are women younger than me
really?
that like men. Yeah, not a lot.
I guess so.
But you have to actually be able to, bring some deliverables.
For the most part. But okay, let me make this point, and this is a point that I made when we talked about the older model who looks great for a woman of any age, but still can't get the man that she wants because she doesn't like men. So it's not true that all older women do like men, but it's more likely as a woman age that she learns what she does like.
Yeah,
and she actually fucking stands by it. And if she don't like a man, she goes gets herself another scoop from the infinite variety of the infinite the infinite ice cream shop of genders, and everybody's happy.
Well, I think someone like Charlize Theron, or because she was complaining as well, that she can't find anybody to date her, and and I'm looking at like just. Let's say she's not actually Charlize Theron, but she looks like Charlize Theron at her age, right? And has the status that she has, right? Or at least the financial, like, she's going to want a man of equal status, equal socioeconomic status to her, at least, right? She, like, Charlize Theron is like, like, I can't find any men. No men want to date me. And I'm like, well, why don't you smash a pipe in your house and see whether the plumber who comes to fix it catches your fancy, right? Like, because at this point,
that's terrible. Don't do that. Don't smash pipes in your house.
Yeah, true. But I'm just thinking about it. Like, there's men everywhere, and if they didn't know you were Charlize Theron, right, then they wouldn't know that you would never date anyone who didn't have at least as much money and fame and status as you do, right? They wouldn't know that, and you would have like this huge amount of dating opportunities. Look at Tom Hanks and other people other men in Hollywood who, got married to a woman who's a nobody, and she's still, does anybody know Tom Hanks' wife's name? No, we don't.
I didn't even know he was married, but yeah.
Yeah, no, they've been together for quite some time. Right?
Okay, so we have done approximately 45 seconds of this. Maybe we should. Let's see if we can do another 15.
Let's see if he builds up some guts.
Yeah. Kurt Russell He stayed with Goldie Hawn for a very long time, and I gotta say, I mean, I think they did end up getting divorced, but it was much later. Kurt Russell was pretty committed, but he is a rare bird in that particular field
Swamp.
when it comes to staying with people. Yeah, in that swamp. I don't think he's really a part of that, but it's just me. Anyway, moving on.
This is what
Okay.
you see playing out in dating with educated people. When this is the situation women are facing. So let's say you start out with a dating pool with 40 women and 30 men. Once half of the women get married, once 20 of the women get married to 20 of the men, the dating pool becomes 20 women and 10 men. So we've gone from a 4-to-3 ratio to a 2-to-1 ratio.
Okay, I'm just pausing there for the
All right.
banana.
I would like to point something out.
Yeah.
I would like to point something out.
Why are there fewer men than women in the
I
original
think he's talking
dating
about
pool?
college, so we're just excluding.
Oh,
Women
okay.
can't date under their.
Oh
Station.
yeah, no, but only people in college date.
I guess I don't know. I
Apparently.
don't know where he's going with it, but I would like to point out that if you are a woman and you feel like you don't have any good available prospects, either expand the scope or maybe, actually learning to like men might expand your scope, because then the average man will have more value to you.
True, but also, I think that we need to re-examine, this problem where, like this was a huge problem at my husband's last employer, technically not his employer, his contractual freaking partner. So he was a contractor at this big multinational, Canada-based multinational firm, and he had no benefits and no holiday pay and no vacation pay and no sick leave, no paid sick leave, no nothing, right? Like there was nothing. And he also had to become a numbered company. And he also had to keep track of everything and bill for it. Otherwise he didn't get paid. And so it was just like a logistical nightmare. It was like 2 hours a day of more work on top of the work he did every day. And then on top of that, no job security. It's effectively fire at will for no reason at all. They can get rid of you at any time, because even if they've renewed your contract, they can still get rid of you at any time for no reason at all. Because you're a contractor, right? And also he had to carry like $2 million of liability insurance, and he wasn't eligible for unemployment insurance and all of this other crap, right? So it was like a really, really tenuous position. So he has these two coworkers, and I'm going to call them Vinay and Mariam because it reflects their ethnicity, but not their real names. So Vinay started there 8 years ago as a contractor. Miriam started there 7 years ago as a contractor. Within 2 years, Miriam had been converted into a employee, right? Because that's how things used to work back in 2014, is the contracting position was basically just a tryout, because in order to learn a job that complicated, it might take a year, might take a year and a half for them to even know if you're any good at it. And there's a 3-month probationary period where you can fire somebody without giving them severance, without giving them all kinds of stuff, right? So they basically were using the contractor model as an extended probationary period for hiree prospects, right? And so they converted Miriam, but not Vinay. And then Vinay's still working there, and he's still working there. So he's still working there as a contractor, and she's getting, promoted up the pipeline. This is a high tech industry, and and she's competent, but he's stuck as a contractor, and they've been together as a couple for 6 years, right? But they're not married. And you know why? Because he doesn't have a fucking job. He doesn't have a job. She has a job. She's the one with the job security, right? So she knows that if they decide to get married and start a family, have kids, right? Well, she can take time off for maternity leave. She'll get the top up from her. She'll get the part that unemployment insurance pays for, and then she'll get the top up from the company. She'll be able to no, she won't be able to transfer some of her because he is not eligible for unemployment insurance. Yeah, no. So it basically, it screwed their life plans because he is innately unstable. His position is innately unstable. He could lose his job 6 weeks after she gives birth. And then where the fuck is she? She's down to her maternity leave income, which is always going to be slightly less than when you're working. And then she's going to have to go back to work ASAP. And that's not the life she wants. She wants a man who's going to be a stable provider for when she wants to have her babies. And I don't blame her. Like, who would blame somebody for wanting that? But the reason why Miriam was converted and then promoted and Vinay was not is not because Vinay is less competent than she is. It's because they're both Asian, South Asian, but he's male. And white and Asian males are overrepresented in the tech industry. And so as long as the workers who are Asian and male are contractors, they're not in the diversity, equity, and inclusion reports. They're not counted in those because they're not employees. They're not actually employees of the company, right? So it's to keep the diversity, equity, and inclusion quotas as attractive as possible for the shareholders who really care about these kinds of things.
Okay.
And yeah, no, but it's ruining people's lives. It's ruining
it's ruining the process of developing any kind of pair bonding.
Yeah.
And it's not recognizing how women actually want to structure their relationships
or their lives.
Demanding that men and women, like you said, become fungible, and they're not. And that doesn't mean that men or women are better or worse than each other, or that we have to go back to a previous arrangement, but we have to go to some arrangement that recognizes biological reality.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to expect to have men take the big risks to maintain society, then they need to get some kind of reward at the end, such as becoming sexually desirable. Because right now, we can expect American men, for example, or Canadian men, because they're basically subject to an invisible draft that nobody talks about. They're all just registered. You know, Canadian male citizens are just registered.
Oh yeah, no. A military draft is just one act of parliament away.
Yeah. So every single society on this earth expects men to give their life up if it faces an existential crisis. That is a huge amount of risk that we expect men to maintain, to do the emotional labor to maintain, with no compensation, not even the remote possibility of becoming sexually desirable to the opposite sex. And incidentally, most men participate in a society because of those instincts to become sexually desirable to the opposite sex. So we are destroying our society. I mean, I say these things, I don't know if people understand what the fuck I'm saying. If you looked at, peacock's tail. Why does a peacock have a tail like that? Because it appeals to the peahen, because it is an aspect of his reproductive viability. Okay? Why do men?
He has all. It's ostentatious. It's basically a form of conspicuous consumption.
Why do men engage in building societies? What is the work of building societies? Well, let's look at A city. A city is a good example of what a society, like the expression of a society, like the expression of a peacock's tail. What makes a city? Well, imagine a city and take away everything that a man made.
Yeah, I
You don't
know.
have a city.
Yeah,
Now-
no, you don't have anything. You have grass huts.
Yeah, you have grass huts. Now, or not even grass huts, because you don't really have a tribal society without the work of men to maintain it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now
I know.
imagine, and let's make it a little harder. Imagine taking away everything that men did to create a city in cooperation with each other. You'd
Yeah.
think that would be harder, so there'd be more left, but actually nothing is left again.
No.
Men,
No, there's literally nothing left. Like when I look at, like, I'm looking around, and like, women do make contributions and stuff like that, but the vast majority of everything that I'm looking at in my house, whether it's the antique sewing table with the antique sewing machine hanging underneath it, or the IKEA flat pack furniture, or the TV, or the vinyl framed windows, double paned with argon gas in between them, that are covered with dog snot that makes my neighbor's house look like an impressionist painting. But like, it doesn't, the drywall, right? The gyprock, the moldings around my doorways, right? The doorknobs, everything, right? Everything, almost all of that, right? Every little bit of hands-on work, including like the filling of the potholes outside and the new lamppost that's out there, that if it was there in November, I wouldn't have tripped and broken my knee and elbow, because it's actually bright, unlike the old one. But all of these things, and the tree that fell on my car that was cleared away by a team of not women, like, I'm looking at everything in my vicinity, and it's like, like, women may have designed some of it, right? Like, I picked the paint color in,
and there might be
this
some
house.
factory workers, especially in terms of internal stuff, but the external stuff is almost entirely men. The plumbing, the sewer system, the electricity, the external part of your house built by a man, the roads built by
pipelines,
men.
the
Yeah,
pipe throwing,
all in
like
cooperation with each other.
in 40 below weather, you got guys out in Fort Mac throwing pipe in the ground, so that you can heat your house. And it's just like,
and the point is that men do this in cooperation with each other, because expressions of cooperation are like the peacock's tail for men. They are how they express their reproductive fitness. That's how we can have such a complex cooperative society. It's how we can have a city. And if you don't actually connect, like if you take away, if you make men think that there is absolutely no way that they can become reproductively fit by engaging in your system, they will cease to engage. It won't even be a conscious action. It just won't connect. And then you imagine everything in our society that requires the cooperation to do, men's cooperation with each other to do,
to build and maintain. Build, maintain, repair. Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine all of that gone. And that is what happens when you decouple men's desire to become reproductively fit from the work of maintaining a society. That's what we're doing now.
That's the perfect way to put it, actually.
Sorry?
That's the perfect way to put it, actually.
Yeah, that's what we have done. We have taken the biggest and the most important resource that human beings possess, which is men's desire to gain reproductive fitness through cooperative endeavor with each other, which makes everything. And we have said, yeah, our society don't need that. We'll just leave those gigantic salt domes full of oil where they are. We don't need it. We don't need all of the copper. No, we don't need any of these. We don't want this. We don't need all that pile of gold. That's unnecessary. Leave it, and we're just walking away from the very thing that maintains society. Mm-hmm. And we're also walking away from what how women actually want to structure their society or their lives. We're walking away from all of that, and we're wondering why everything's shit.
Oh no, and what's frustrating to me too, right? Because a lot of these women, right, the ones who at 18 say, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to get married," right? You know, they've been that's what they've been taught. That's what they've been told, right? That's what they've been like, conditioned into saying, right? Is that, like, no, I'm going to be a career woman and I'm never going to get baby rabies, right? Then they hit 30 and one of the things that this guy hasn't said yet is, like there is an actual hard deadline for women that doesn't exist for men. And when you're
softer, let's put it this: it's a softer deadline for men, but men do lose their fertility after a while.
They do lose their fertility after a while, but it happens later and more slowly. But you have these young girls who are like who are hoodwinked into basically focusing. Here's my life plan. I'm gonna go become a partner at Hitchens and Fitch or whatever law firm, and I'm gonna be a partner, a controlling partner, and then I'm gonna start looking and not realizing that you're gonna be 45 by then, and it's over, right? Like, even if you could find a man who wanted to be with you, maybe he's like a widower who already has kids or whatever. If he's of your status, yeah, no, there's a dozen women younger than you that he can dally with, right? Or he can just pay a prostitute, and it's like he doesn't even have to put up with her bullshit. It's like you don't pay her for the sex, you pay her to go away.
And there's also another feasible option as well. If a woman wants to pursue a career, she can always curb check her fucking hypergamy and get a man who doesn't and wants to stay at home and raise kids.
Yeah, that's true, and that been an option
always viable.
Yeah, always. It's always available, but women aren't going to take it, and that's the thing that I think we have to be realistic about, is that by and large, women are not going to accept that. I mean, Stefan Molyneux, he was a stay-at-home dad, and but I think the only reason why his wife stayed with him through that, because she went out and worked and he stayed at home with their daughter, was because he was bringing in flipping great wads of cash on YouTube. Right. So it's like he still had a career. He still had a way of, gaining and maintaining his status in society, economically and socially. So like I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, like women are.
Yeah, but here's the thing: for those people who say we're we're slamming women, this is a situation that women create.
Yeah, no, because they will not marry down.
And to bring it back to the topic,
the higher up the socioeconomic ladder women go, the less likely they are to marry down, right? Like if you're a waitress with a high school education, you're more likely to marry someone with less education than you, right? Than a woman who's a millionaire who has a law degree, right?
Okay.
So
but to bring it back to the topic, this is a situation. Dating and relationships are situations that women control completely. And they construct these errors, these life errors for themselves, and then they want to pretend that it's men's responsibility to compensate for them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
And if you want to be a career woman, you got to accept either a career man, and that's going to be difficult because careers can be extremely time consuming. So you may have to accept a childless life, or you accept a man who is able to provide the child care that you won't be providing. And that's fine because, kids do fine with stay-at-home fathers. In fact, they apparently do really well. Like, they do better than stay-at-home mothers for some reason. least according to what I've seen.
I think maybe it's just because the cultural environment is so feminized now that
Yeah.
that
they get
a heavy dose of maternal, stuff.
Yeah, you could actually create a super kid by forgoing the child Pilates and I don't know, music lessons,
the baby Einstein and
the
stuff,
baby
yeah.
Einstein and the prior school or whatever the hell they're in now. Like the prep schools for like kindergartners. You could probably
kindergarten, and
you could probably forgo all of that and just get a stay-at-home dad and get the same effect.
Yeah,
for a lot less money. Because that's being raised by their fathers and having that greater amount of masculine influence does wonders for kids' development.
Yeah,
when they're
especially
young.
I think especially because daycare providers
Don't care.
in-home care providers, so nannies and stuff like that. No, but it's not that they don't care. And teachers in elementary school are overwhelmingly
Can I
women.
say teachers in elementary school also don't care?
Okay, yes, you can say that, but like they're not going to care about your child as much as they care about their own children.
And they're not going to care about their child as much as your child's father is going to care about them. As long as you've chosen a guy who doesn't have massive red flags.
But what I'm saying is the reason that it appears that kids who are raised by stay-at-home dads do better than kids who are raised by stay-at-home moms, it might just be that they're saturated with maternalism in the wider culture and they're deprived of masculinity in the wider culture at those young formative ages, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could, like, if you're one of those yuppie parents who's like, oh my God, I want to make sure my kid is like super kinder. You're better off just fire the child Pilates, the music teacher, the preschool, the prep school, the whatever else, and just have a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah, cheaper. Because it's cheaper and as well it's because they're going to be inundated with women for the first probably 11 years of their life. The first 11 to 12 years of their lives are going to be ruled by women. And almost a desert in terms of masculinity. It's they might find the first male, like if you have a boy in particular, but girls as well, right? And you don't have a father in the home, the first male role model that is there 5 days a week in your child's life might be their grade 8 math teacher, and he's there for 1 hour a day.
Yeah, that's pretty horrible. I think that might also be why the children of gay fathers are actually pretty well off too, even controlling for income.
There you go. So
because that masculinity is important for raising children. Who would thought?
It's is
important.
Both boys and girls
for maintaining society.
Yeah, both boys and girls need it.
The future is not female. Well, the future may be female, but the future is also exceedingly short.
Right.
Okay, I'm still here, guys.
Okay, yes. I thought you were asleep, but then I realized there was no snoring, and I've slept in a hotel room with you, and
I do snore. I'm sorry.
Oh God.
Actually, you know what? I don't think I do it as much anymore because I've lost a lot of weight since then, and Lindsay has me doing like a keto thing, and yeah, so I don't snore like I used to. But that was years ago, and I'm sorry, Karen.
You should be. You should be.
So I got a super chat from Albert Nada. Gives us $20 Canadian and says, Kurt Russell and Goldie never got married. I didn't know they had split. Well, I didn't know. I know they were together. And is Kate Hudson? I know that's Goldie's daughter, but is that Kurt Russell's kid? I don't even know. And maybe Theron should stop mistreating the men around her, and they might stick around. And that's not including the North Country stuff.
Oh God.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
no. That. Okay, sorry. You continue.
well, when Theron, when Karen was mentioning that Charlize Theron had like complained about not being able to find a guy, I think that honestly, and I don't mean to just take the wind right out of that, but I believe that she was really just promoting a movie that she was doing with Seth Rogen about a girl that she plays that's having trouble finding a guy. And I think she ends up with Seth Rogen, which is literally like going below her weight class. And then, like, as part of the promotion for this film that I don't think anyone watched, one of the things that it was like a publicity. Like, she was like, "Oh yeah, I have trouble," and I'm like, "Yeah, I doubt that." But it doesn't mean that she's a good woman, so don't take it that way. I don't particularly like get a lot of enjoyment in just criticizing famous women because they may or may not be lonely. But if they're like shitty to men, I just don't have a lot of sympathy. Like a woman that I always used to think looked just like Charlize Theron was Ashley Judd. If you don't believe me, you should look it up. They look very similar. And Ashley Judd, I used to like when she was younger because she was just like this sweet, cute thing, that was part of the Judd family.
When she was like Wesley Crusher, and what she played opposite him in one of the Star Trek, a couple of the Star Trek, Loeffler, Lieutenant Loeffler.
She was on that. Well,
yeah, no, she was in Star Trek: The Next Generation in a couple of episodes.
But I didn't pay attention.
A romantic interest for Will Wheaton.
For Will Wheaton.
Oh God.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I could see Will Wheaton pitching that in the, hey, how about she want to date me? But then like I saw Ashley Judd talk about her that poem, women can't choose. So I was like, no, this woman is now ugly. But anyway,
she's dead to me.
When a woman decides women can't choose when they get their periods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, you're psychotic.
Yeah, right.
That's not slam poetry. That's actually what you say before they wheel you away and commit you for 30 days of involuntary observation.
Yeah.
At the local psych ward, right? Like, speaking as somebody who actually knows someone right now who's in the psych ward, for 30 days of involuntary observation. Yeah, no, that's kind of how he was talking.
Yeah.
He was just saying it with a baseball bat in his hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's not who you think. Just
I thought I was going to say something, but then there was.
And there was what?
Nothing.
Should I play some more? Okay. So I've read all the super chats. Thanks, guys. All right.
5 more couples pair off. It becomes 15 women and 5 men, a 3-to-1 ratio. So the point I'm always making, look, is if you prioritize marriage, if you're a woman who prioritizes marriage, there is no reason to delay. Either in terms of economics or career. As I said, I've yet to see any good evidence that focusing on career, not family, in your 20s is beneficial. But especially when it comes to relationships, because the dating math is just going to get harder. I'm
pausing there for the banana. There's nothing else to add. Go ahead.
I should do a thank you though.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So I just want to
have to go pretty quick though.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this is going to be okay. Let me do my thank yous. I want to thank Egregious Charles for $100. Thank you, Egregious.
Thank you, Charles.
Freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
That was pretty egregious there, Charles.
Yes, it's definitely egregious. And if you would like to join,
like a woman.
If you'd like to join our very generous supporters, please go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. You can go to feedthebadger.com and follow the pop-up. And please do, because I want to continue this work. And I think it's really important. I think that we are some of the who makes the connections that we do. Not caring about men, not caring about men's mental health, which a big part of mental health is simply morale. And for men, that is the belief that their actions matter to the world and,
in a positive way.
In a positive way, and that they are able to at least become desirable. I mean, to women, maybe this is a bit of a stretch, but that through working with society, working with the structures that exist, that they can develop the ability to attract a mate as part of morale.
That's the brass ring right there.
Yeah. So as long as people don't make these connections and they continue to propagate the notion that society is constructed for the benefit of men at the expense of women, when men are motivated to construct society in order to benefit women at their own expense, we might find we lose that thing called society. It might go a little bit bell-shaped, bell end, like a little flat at some point, a little bit post-crisis, a little bit civilization collapse, a little bit dark ages.
Oh, God. Don't get me started on collapse, because collapse is forever. And if anybody wants to know why I think that, you can go to Blithering Genius's channel and look for a video called Collapse is Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll explain it.
Yeah, well, I don't use that term lightly, but I think more and more people are starting to sense that something has gone in a direction of suboptimalness.
Yeah, and like my black pill, I think, I would describe the black pill as, when I was red pilled, I could see how things were, but I still thought that we could achieve escape velocity, and now I'm black pilled and I'm thinking, well, the ground doesn't look so bad.
Well, plenty of species just exist.
Or cease to. So it's something that happens. It can happen to our species, and that's okay because evolution just marches on. We don't have to continue to exist, and I can tell you that any species that is this absolutely at odds and at war with its own reproductive process probably isn't going to exist for very long. Yeah, no, it's actually spectacularly weird. Like we're like the mice in that mouse utopia experiment right now. So,
yeah.
But
anyway, feminism. Okay, let's go.
A little bit more.
All right, a little bit more.
As you get older, although, and one of my arguments in Make Your Move is that there is an advantage for older women to dip down age-wise. And I know a bunch of couples where it's kind of a reverse age gap, a woman, 5-6 years older.
Well, like Emmanuel Macron and his woman.
Than the man. And by dipping down age-wise, women can kind of offset some of this.
Well, I wanted to explain for the people who don't understand why this is obvious. The reason that it's more of a problem for women dating at 31 than it is for men dating at 31 is that women, as they get older, on average, are dating men that are their age or older, right? Whereas men have a broader cross-section of women that they can access who are younger than them. So it means that men basically get a broader dating pool as they get older, technically.
Pausing it there for a second.
I just want to point something out. This is indirectly fingering the exact problem. If women deny to date younger men, okay, so yes, if women actually take the time to change or consider the things that they're looking for and maybe expand their options, they get more options. And that says what? Women have been restricting themselves or restricting their options because of artificial or ridiculous factors. because it's obviously like it's not men who are stopping. If it's women who are saying no, I'm not going to date a man 5 to 6 years younger than me, and when they do decide to do that, they are find success. Then it's not the men who are the restriction here; it's the women. And I think if you go down every single factor and you look at it, you'll find that women are constructing the shit for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't have to go after the top 10% on Tinder. You don't have to, like, this is what I've said on the dating show. If women want to have success in dating, they should look at everything that they look for in a man and look at other women and what they look for in men. Get sort of a general average of what women look for in men. Go back to the thing that they look for in men and delete everything that is exactly identical to every other woman.
Yeah.
And then go for the shit that they actually personally find appealing.
Yeah. No, it's one of the things that I got when I was on dating websites. One of the most common responses was, your profile is so unique.
Well, it's not. I'm not talking about their profile. I'm talking about what they ask for from men. Maybe that was part of what they were talking about.
Well, because your profile basically tells people who you are and what you care about, and also what you want from the relationship, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, so it literally, you know, and I mean, for men on dating websites, it's typically it's a list of what they have to offer, right? And for women, it's a list of what they're demanding. It's very, very, you know, if she mentions, you know, that she's got a PhD, it's because, you know, she's looking for someone who at least has a PhD, right? If she's making $60,000 a year, it's because she's looking for someone who's not making less than $60,000 a year, right? Like that. This is like, so her description of herself, right? That the logistical description of herself is just like a list of the qualifications that he has to meet or exceed. And then she'll be like, well, and you have to be tall, and you have to be this, and you have to be that, and you have to like dogs, and you have to like cats, and you have to like this, and you have to like that, right? And all of this other stuff. And I just put like some cryptic shit. I was just like, oh, hey, John Money, or not John Money, Gunny Highway from Heartbreak Ridge, right? You know, I just put a quote from that movie. You know, you can beat me, you can starve me, you can run me, you can kill me, right? Just don't bore me. And I just put that up, and as, you know, favorite quote, and a few other things, trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Well, trying to be funny, making an effort to actually appeal to the people who profile. But my ultimate point is that two things women can do to succeed in dating. One, like men. You know, just like them.
Yeah.
And to do that, you might want to start by kicking out all the feminism from your life. That doesn't mean that you have to suddenly fold like a wet napkin. Feminism isn't what gives you moral strength. What gives you moral strength is you and your decision to be the person that you are. Okay? You don't need feminism for that. And feminism won't appreciate it if you do.
Yeah, no, you don't deserve a cookie just for being a decent human being.
Yeah, just kick
now
that
stay in Ukraine and keep fighting.
Just kick that crap to the curb. Yeah. Learn to appreciate men. Learn to like them. And that's not just for men's sake. It's like, why would you want to be in a relationship with an entity you dislike? Why would you expect anything good to come of that?
Yeah.
Like, why would you go into a relationship with all of this feminist baggage with a man and expect anything good to come of it?
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah, and you're always going to be looking at him like to see how he's living down to your expectations.
Well, and you're always going to see your relationship as a zero-sum combat.
Yeah, no, it's nations at war. It's not like a partnership. It's nations at war. It's like it's just sad. And this guy, I think he's fundamentally, I mean, I think the advice that he's giving to women, I guess, um, it's sound, in terms of the actual doing of the things, okay? But I think he's working. He's reached the right answer. This is why in math they make you show your work, right? Um, he's come up with some good advice, but he's gotten there through some flawed reasoning
Purely
and
by accident.
yeah, just kind of by accident or just by observation, right? So or by rote. He's under it's like those people who get through an engineering degree because they just memorize the equations, right? They don't understand why the equations work. They don't understand the underlying concept. They just have a really good eidetic memory, and they can memorize the equations for when it shows up on the test. And they don't make good engineers because they don't understand what the hell is going on. And I think that this is what his problem is. Either that, or he's not wanting to actually say what the issue is, because he does not want to get canceled. So, this musical chairs thing and the 40-30 thing, ratio thing, and all of that stuff, right?
We here have no such fears. Well, we do, but
oh yeah, no, but cancel me. Like, they canceled me on Twitter. Like, I'm waiting for Facebook to kick me off. Posted a bunch of shit about the Freedom Convoy. Didn't get banned yet. But
I don't even do anything on Facebook. I'm surprised
Yeah.
Twitter hasn't banned me. I mean, most of the times I get hit with something where it's like, yeah, it might be fair. Or
Oh,
easily
you were
misinterpreted.
You were mean to someone, or you?
No. Usually, the last time it was a suicidal ideation. I'm like, well, I don't think I did, but whatever. It was a joke. It could have gone both one way or the other.
Oh,
But
okay. So you
the
were like,
message was
"Oh
really
my
hilarious.
god,
We're
stop
kicking
the
you out of your community for a day because of your but here's a suicide
suicidal
helpline."
ideation." You're like, "Stop the planet! I want to cut my own throat!" Right? And
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Oh yeah, no, get out!
Yeah,
You're cut off from the community because we think you're suicidal. So here, let's cut you off from the rest of humanity, knowing nothing
let's
more about you
exclude
than
you.
that
Oh,
you
by the way, just in case,
participate on Twitter."
here's
Jesus
a
Christ!
mental health line.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Well, actually, no. Ceasing your participation on Twitter probably does assist in your mental
Yeah,
health.
it does help your mental health. But what I'm saying is, if you were actually suicidal and you were someone on Twitter and you were like saying some shit, right? What they should do is they should have somebody from the mental health line DM you.
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so.
Not kick you off of your. For all they know, you live in some freaking basement underneath a parking garage, right? Or the bilge of a freaking cruise ship, and you just sitting there. All you got is your computer, and your connection to the external world is
And Twitter
100% through Twitter, right? And they're like, "Oh, you're suicidal. Fuck off."
I just found it hilarious. It's like, fuck off, but here's a suicide line just in case. I'm like,
Jesus
okay, thank
Christ.
you, Twitter. But I didn't feel like fighting it, so I was just like, okay, whatever. Because there's just some things are just not worth. So it's been stuff like that, but never anything worse than that. Just I don't know. Twitter's weird.
Yeah. Anyway,
I don't think they understand what I say, honestly. Like most people, like I think the reason why I haven't been kicked off YouTube or Twitter, I don't think they understand what I'm saying, honestly.
Probably not.
I remember even at Man Boob, they called me memorable because I'm batshit insane or something.
Oh well, that
They could be
that's just
lying.
them.
They do that.
They could be
That-
wrong.
No, they're all crazy. Like
No,
one of
they
the.
were saying I'm batshit insane.
I
like,
know,
the
no,
things
but
I say.
they're all fucking crazy. Like, okay, so I'm sitting there in the comments section at Man Boobs. I think it was at that point it was We Hunted the Mammoth. But I'm in there and I'm reading, and somebody it was an article that included me, right? So, and somebody was like, "Oh, have you seen what Man Boobs is saying about you?" And I went and read it. It was total bullshit. And then, you go to all this like freaking gaggle of geese just like freaking out in the comments section. And then, saying more and more and more and more and more disparaging things about me. Each one, like they're playing a game of one-upmanship, one-up womanship, and then oh wait, one-up womenship, because it's women's now, because we're progressive like that, but then somebody shows a GIF, and they were all like emojis and GIFs like constantly. It was very frustrating. It's irritating for somebody who, like me, who, my eyes
Speaks in
aren't that.
word.
Yeah, no, makes me car sick just watching my computer. But so somebody posts a GIF of from House of Cards of Kevin Spacey just rolling his eyes, right? And then from that point on, the entire conversation was about how House of Cards was the most unbelievably awesome show ever, and how Kevin Spacey was so fucking sexy, and oh my god, and it's so realistic. And I'm thinking to myself, Kevin Spacey plays the party whip and later the president, who is a member of the Democrat Party, and he and his wife are based off of Bill and Hillary Clinton. And you guys are not only just incredible fangirls of this series, but you think it's realistic. You think it's like realistic. Like Kevin Spacey in that show, God, I can't remember what his freaking name is, the character's name is. In that show, he pushes a journalist, a female journalist, in front of a speeding freaking subway train, right? And kills her because she knows too much about him, right? Another woman gets killed by his chief of staff. He bashes her in the head with a shovel out in the middle of the desert and buries her, right? Because she knows too much about him. And I'm like, and the wife is pulling all the strings behind the scenes and embezzling from her charitable foundation. And I'm like, okay, so you think this is an awesome show. You think that these characters are awesome and sexy, and you think that this is realistic. And you vote Democrat, guaranteed.
Well, because no matter how evil they aren't as bad as Republicans.
Oh,
there you go. That's how it works.
Oh my
and
God.
Also, I think that
They're crazy.
I think for a lot of feminists, the whole concept of patriarchy is actually a laundry list of what they fap to. So let us.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Do you want me to,
and the reason why we don't like it is because, well, it's stupid and also wrong and blatantly so. I mean, it's really dumb.
What, we don't like patriarchy, or we don't like
the feminism or feminist concept of patriarchy.
Yeah, like I'm actually increasingly, like I said, once you realize you can't achieve escape velocity, the ground starts looking actually pretty good.
Yeah, but what is the ground really at this point?
Well, I don't know.
We'll see.
I mean,
we're gonna actually have to be on the ground.
Let's just get through the next couple of years without nuclear war, I think. That
Oh,
would be-
geez. Alison, I grew up in the duck and cover generation. And
I'm
there
not that
was,
much younger than you.
yeah, there was a red phone in the Oval Office. And when they saw things coming towards the United States, right, they'd pick up the phone and it would go direct to
but
the
here's the
freaking
critical
Kremlin.
difference. This is a critical difference. Twitter.
Okay, no, the critical difference is Biden. Okay, I'll give you that.
No, Twitter. Like literally this, like I'm not kidding when I say we live in a mean girl. Twitter has way too much fucking political influence, and you'll realize
That's true. That's true.
If you look at how particular health decisions were made during the crisis.
Oh.
Yeah, I can tell you about that in another realm of opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's not something that we
That's a
should
no-no.
discuss.
That's a no-no topic. So,
Yeah.
all right, I think we're good. I'm going to
All right.
check.
Do you want me
if
to
there's
put
any more
this?
things.
You wanted me to put this thing on that you sent me?
Yes, I think we need something nice after all that.
Nice.
Yeah, but will it have sound? That's the question, because the sound is critical.
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out. We will find out. We are in the process of a lot of things.
This is
A great many things.
What are you
Apparently-
doing, Brian? Jesus.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know.
I was asked to open up a video, but it was actually a link to a file of a video, not the video itself. So it didn't open it as it opened
Okay.
it separately. Just give me a second here.
Oh, and while we're waiting, once again, we are to make sure we can pay Brian, Prim, and Hannah for the month. It is at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. You can also go to Feed the Badger and just follow the pop-up, and we'll take you to there. Please do consider putting some support in the hat, because we do not exist if you do not support us. People aren't really interested in this analysis for the most part, because it's true. People don't like the truth. I mean, if you had let's imagine you had a building, okay? And you had a superintendent who had it out for plumbers. And you have a team of plumbers and a team of electricians who are maintaining the building. And the superintendent insists on blaming the plumbers for everything, including any mistakes or any responsibilities that the electricians have. All right. So
What the hell?
yes,
What the hell is that?
The
Is
duck.
that
duck.
a goose? A
It's a
duck?
duck. It's a duck. Yeah. So go put some ducks in the fundraiser at feedthebadger.com. But I'm going to complete my analysis or my,
Okay,
my
yes.
analogy.
Go
All
ahead.
right. So you got this building that's being maintained by a team of electricians and a team of plumbers. The plumbers get blamed for everything. The electricians can do no wrong. And the building ends up falling into disrepair. What is the solution? Maybe Karen or Brian can weigh in on that.
Well,
the thought.
maybe it would be holding everybody accountable.
Well, in this particular case, the plumbers are being held accountable. Should be. So the answer is you hold the electricians accountable for that stuff they have power over.
Yes, everybody should be held accountable.
Yeah.
They need to be held accountable for doing their jobs, and
Or
like
not doing
I don't
their jobs.
and I don't understand why we've decided that roles are wrong. Like
Gender roles.
Well,
Any roles, expectations, judgment, discernment, criticism. All these things are wrong.
like every once in a while I take the Myers-Briggs personality test, and I always come up as some as INFJ or occasionally INTJ, and I've
I got
taken
it.
this to mean
ENTJ.
that INTJ.
I am
No, I'm
INTP.
saying I got ENTJ.
Oh, did you? Well, F is feeling, T is thinking, Jay is judging, and I
I'm
just
very
basically
Jay.
look at my things. FJ or TJ, doesn't matter whether I'm feeling or thinking. I'm gonna be judgmental.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna think I'm right. And
Yeah, I am INTP.
INTP, perceiving. Oh yeah, no, that's why you can do all of this weird ass freaking Janissaries shit.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's why I see these parallels and other people don't. And why, I predict certain stuff that comes true, I guess.
Yeah, well, I
Which
got
is
people
pointless.
comment.
Like you predict shit, nobody listens and it happens, and then what was the point of that?
I know. I've got people like in the last week or so on my Fempocalypse video saying it's been 10 years and it's all come true.
Yeah.
10 years later, it's all come true. I just found this now and it's all happening. So,
Yeah, and now we're in Mean Girl state.
Yeah. Oh well.
All right.
All
Let's,
right. I gotta
once
go.
again, feedthebadger.com. You want to be able to keep hearing us, so make sure that happens. That's up to you. All right, Brian.
All right, I guess we're wrapping it up. So if you guys like this video or enjoyed this video, please smash like on YouTube. Give us a rumble. I think they call it a rumble on Rumble. And if you are not already, subscribe to us over on Rumble and on YouTube. We'd appreciate that. Hit the bell for notifications so that you know when our shows go live on YouTube. And comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed. And if you've watched the video in its entirety and you think we're being unfair to Mr. Jon Birger, you can let us know. I know that we didn't really get very far into it. Like I said before, I think he's well-intentioned, but I do think that there does seem to be a place that he's not ready to go to just yet. to just go,
he's very
wary.
purple.
Yeah, he's
purple.
wary.
And he knows it's a bad place to go red, so.
Yeah. Let us know what you guys think about that in the comments. And most importantly, please share this video, share the link out, share the Rumble link, share the YouTube link, whatever. We appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's show. And we will talk to you all in the next one. So have a good one, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Make the most of it.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.